Section 2.2, Analyzing Conditional Statements. This picture here just is kind of cool, and it makes me a little bit happy because it's just a really unique way to deal with melted crayons, and it's something that I would like to do someday, but who knows if I ever will. So, analyzing conditional statements. First of all, conditional statement, what is it? Conditional statement is a logical statement containing two parts. The first part is a hypothesis, and the second part is a conclusion, just like in your science class. So we read this as if P, then Q. So all whales are mammals. We need to put this into a conditional statement form. So all whales are mammals. We could say if it's a whale, then it's a mammal. That would be a conditional statement. So if a whale, then a mammal. For the next one, 3 points are collinear if there's a line containing them. So again, in a conditional statement form, if 3 points are collinear, then there is a line containing them. That would be your if-then form. Another symbol we're going to look at is negation. Negation is the opposite of the original statement, and we use it with just kind of a little squiggly line. So our conditional statement is if P, then Q. So again, that was if it's a whale, then it's a mammal. Converse is the opposite. If Q, then P. Sometimes this is true, but it's not always. For example, if we go back to the whale example, it's not going to work to say if it's a mammal, then it's a whale. In some situations, it will work where the converse is also true, but not in this situation. The inverse is when you put the word not in there. So if it's not a whale, then it's not a mammal. That's something else that in this case would not be true. Lastly, the contrapositive. The contrapositive is the negative of the converse. So, going back to the whale and the mammal, if it's not a mammal, then it's not a whale. It's not a male either then, I suppose. But if it's not a mammal, it's not a whale. That would be something that would be true. If it's not a mammal, then it can't be a whale. Write the if-then form, the converse and the inverse, and the contrapositive of the statement, Olympians are athletes. Decide which statement, if any, is true or false. So, Olympians are athletes. Write that in conditional, converse, inverse, and contrapositive form. Pause your video at this point. Do you have an answer? Here's what I got. For the conditional statement, if it's an Olympian, then it's an athlete. Well, that's true. The converse, if it's an athlete, then it's an Olympian. Well, that's not exactly going to be true because I kind of consider myself athletic, not as athletic as I used to be, but still athletic, and I'm definitely not an Olympian. So the converse is not true. Let's try the inverse. Not P, then not Q. So if it's not an Olympian, it's not an athlete. Well, I'm not an Olympian, but again, I still kind of consider myself an athlete, so that's not true. The contrapositive. If it's not an athlete, then it's not an Olympian. Well, if a person's not an athletic person, then yeah, they're definitely not an Olympian because Olympians are supposed to be at the peak of athleticism. Couple of definitions for some vocab terms here. Perpendicular lines. If two lines intersect to form a right angle, then they are perpendicular lines. The symbol for this is kind of an upside down letter T. That means perpendicular. If two lines are perpendicular, then they intersect to form a right angle. That would be the conditional statement for these. When a conditional statement and its converse are both true, you can write the single item, or write it as a single item or a biconditional statement containing the phrase if and only if. So the biconditional would be two lines are perpendicular if and only if they intersect to form a right angle. Two lines are perpendicular if and only if they intersect to form a right angle. Homework problems will be attached in a file underneath this. Be ready to discuss both homework sections tomorrow in class.